You're going to see how you can react to answers to these questions from the lclanguages.com example answer podcasts. If you haven't heard the podcasts, click on the link below first. If you have, then watch and do. The speaker says that it's without doubt that the goal of the advertisement is to get the audience to opt for the product or service being advertised. I think this is true. I fully agree with this. It is without doubt that the advertisers want to get the people to opt for this product or service. But having said that, I should note that if the advertisement is by a non-profit company or by the government, then that may not be without doubt. That may not necessarily be true. In such a case, the aim would be a little bit different. It might be to just raise awareness and not to convince people. Another thing the speaker says is that an effective advertisement will convince the viewer or listener that their life will be better if they consume this product. I agree with that, an effective advertisement, but I think if you can convince someone that their life will be better if they have your product, I think it's not just effective, I think that's incredibly effective. If you can achieve that goal, that's an incredibly effective advertisement. Probably if it's just an effective advertisement, it will convince them that their life might be better. But if it convinces them that their life will be better, then that's an incredibly effective advertisement. That would be my linguistic choice for that one. Another thing the speaker says is that in order to be convincing, the advertisement should combine images and sound and words that will strike a chord with the target consumer. Nice expression. Strike a chord with the target consumer. I think if you're convincing or trying to convince the target consumer to buy your product or your service, let's say your service is to fix their toilet, I don't think your advertisement really has to strike a chord with them. In such a case, I think perhaps it would have to appeal to them in some way in terms of price. But certainly when we're talking about more expensive products or luxury goods or experience services, then definitely you want to create something that will strike a chord. As the people are after something that's a little bit less simple, a little bit more complicated. So you have to have that whole emotional experience and you have to strike a chord with them to convince them to opt for your product. One point the speaker makes is that children and teenagers are bombarded with advertisements. I agree with that. Children and teenagers are definitely bombarded with advertisements. But I would add to that nowadays we're all bombarded with advertisements because we're looking at screens quite a lot. There's always advertisements there. We go outside, there are advertisements on billboards. So I would just say everybody is bombarded with advertisements now. One result of this bombardment of advertising that the speaker points out is the fact that parents are more than willing to cave in to the demands of their children who are bugging them to buy something because of advertising. I agree. Children see advertisements. Advertisements encourage them to bug their parents. But I don't agree that the parents are more than willing, or most parents are more than willing to cave into the demands. I think if a parent caves into the child's demands, then they reluctantly cave in. Maybe occasionally a parent is willing to cave in because then they can forget about the child and go and do their own thing. But generally speaking, most parents, if they cave in, reluctantly or even angrily cave in to their children's demands. A conclusion that the speaker draws is that children are in the end brought up in an environment of rampant consumerism. I think rampant consumerism is a little bit too negative to describe the environment that children are being brought up in. I think you could say that it's excessive, the consumerism is excessive that they're being brought up in. But rampant, I think, is a little bit too negative to describe the situation I see. The author says that advertising, or the content of advertising, can have a detrimental effect on teenagers, particularly teenage girls. I agree with that. I would even say that it can have an incredibly detrimental effect if we take into account the fact that probably many teenagers start smoking because of the pressure they feel, and these advertisements definitely contribute to that pressure by giving them a model that they can't match. Yeah, we can say that it's highly detrimental. It can play a significant role in them doing things that harm or are detrimental to their body, highly detrimental. Now it's your turn to react to these ideas, thinking about the language you want to choose to give your ideas. Take it easy.